hitting like a truck just repeatedly. And they really could initiate probably on this turret, but again, that Amumu ultimate is going to pin them to it, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. So they're going to back up for now. But they have, I mean, they really do have like such a really awesome team comp, because they have these really sweet like R button ultimates where you're just like, I press this button and channel and dudes die. They have two really beefy tanks in front. They have a really good support. Janna's really holding their team together. You wouldn't think it because like, oh, you know, it's Johnny, yeah, she's pretty good, but like she's holding these fights together. She's shielding Dan for bonus damage. She's popping her ultimate when they need to sort of reset the battle. She's slowing enemies down, crowd controlling them with her tornado. Like she does a lot in these fights. She's really holding them together, and she's an awesome support team. They picked her very early on because they knew they wanted Janna. They just could have late picked Tristana. It's just like this great, awesome carry who's very, very safe and does scale really well with items. So Epik really playing a better game later on. Early on, you know, they lost these dragon fights constantly. They really didn't have the ability to fight dragon very well. I think actually the bottom lane was probably better for CLG, and even losing that Baron early on, but late game they've just had such a really cohesive team comp that they have, you know, these really awesome hard carries with Tristana, with Vladimir as well, being such an exceptional caster now, 191 magic resist, just will not take damage to anyone but Ashe. And I think that's what happened last fight, where you know Vladimir was the one guy who died, which is Ashe going for it repeatedly.
So now that we've got these minions in the base of CLG, I mean, at this point, are you looking like, you know, game over? Because they got to deal with the minions. They can't really deal with the field at all because the minions could just destroy it.
Absolutely, yeah. So getting an inhibitor has like some good and bad benefits. So right now, the lane will always push. So this lane will always be in their base. So CLG will always be able to farm it. And of course, it takes a while. This thing is just not dying, right? And it keeps them in their base, but they have basically that lane is free for farming for the next 5 minutes until an inhibitor respawns, and it just is there, and it is your little pet gold farm, which is awesome. Like, you can get a carry, you know, farmed up really late game. If you screw up and you lose the inhib, you're like, well, we can farm it up and maybe be okay. But because you're stuck in your base like that, these objectives like Baron or like Dragon or even other turrets around the map start becoming really easy targets, and really, you know, they're really awesome to go for. And so, you know, we saw that before where Epik, you know, pushed the bottom lane, and they're just taking all the buffs across the map, and they know CLG has just zero map control. And you can see if you look at the mini map down here, I mean, CLG is maybe like a third of the way across the map, like maybe kind of, but you can see the minions, these green minions, the green minions are Epics, by the way, are just up here, you know, up to the second turret at top, up to the second turret at mid, I mean, all the way in the base. So the entire like 85% of the map is just theirs. And so they're taking the jungle creeps, they're taking all the sigils, they're gonna take Baron when it respawns, which is probably within about 2 minutes. And they're just like, yo dog, we got map control, like, we're gonna keep holding this. One thing I'm actually surprised about though is that they've actually not bought an Oracle's Elixir, 3 Sunfire Cape Garen, oh ouch. But they've not bought an Oracle's Elixir, which just gives your champion true sight until he dies, because CLG's been really good about warding, and Baron's back, but CLG's been really good about warding stuff, and Epik hasn't been countering it with Oracles. So it's gonna be interesting. They're gonna actually try to push them out of positions. They're gonna push this turret, and it's free again because they've been pushed so far back they can't react very quickly because they don't know where they're going because they have no map awareness. But they're pushing them back into the base, and again, bottom is gonna push down as well. And if they can get them zoned all the way back into the base, they can just kill Baron in like 10 seconds. And that's what we might see right here. Is again, you know, Neely's farming top. You know, there's a couple of pings going on. Now, there we go. They do have oracles. Okay, Nunu did get oracles. They did get that ward. So now they're winning the map control war quite well. Epik has sight of everything. They know what's going on. They're actually calling out strategies right now. Oh, there's the hawk shot. They might see him. I think they do know they see him because they're hiding in this brush here. So they're going to back up for now. They know to be safe. Ashe just... Oh, Ashe now picked up a Bloodthirster. There's a lot more bonus damage, and lifesteal is really huge for her. She really needs that lifesteal. That will help her pick up and stay up in these fights without a super huge dedicated support. Oh man, so there's the clairvoyance. They do know what's going on. Baron does pick down Janna a little bit. They did try to go for the back Baron. Ooh, excessive, taking some damage. They gotta be a little bit careful. Amumu is now up in their faces. They've gotta be careful. Does take some damage. Oh, there's the ultimate. Does hit Tristana, but here we go. Lots of damage going off. Morgana does have her ultimate on. There's the Nunu wall, and they do catch Morgana. Morgana will go down. Very nice job there, but Sal's taking some shots. Oh, and Elements gets completely owned by the blood pool. Hotshot GG, very, very low, catches a nice heal, but GG in the middle of everything. Big fat GG now getting revived by his guardian angel, and there's a snowball to the face, and there's the flash, and down she goes. So now the entire team of Epik is ready to push top. Oh, and Garen did pick down Needly. GG is called from CLG. We're going to move on to the final second game now. Epic Gamer winning game 1, the North American Grand Finals for League of Legends, pushing down these last 2 turrets, and there's the kill in the 52nd minute. Will kill this inhibitor, and the Nexus obviously. And there is GG. Amazing play from Epik. Really good cohesive stuff. One more round. This time, CLG will get to choose if they want first pick or first ban, and we'll see how that plays out. We can look at the scoreboard over here. Extremely good play by Sauce, 10 and 3 as Vladimir. Dan will take a lot of deaths, just very good play, a lot of assists, a lot of kills, not dying too much. Really good play.
So good game, and we're going on to a game 2, and that's, kind of like what we like to see in any sort of championship match. A lot of people going for the underdog there. But tell me a little bit, like, to you, what you saw, Freak, what were the defining moments? I mean, Epik got that first kill, and there was a question I wanted to throw in there before all the action got started, is like, how often does that first kill really dictate the flow of the game for a team?
It can. It's really weird. I really thought CLG was going to win that game because they were just winning in map control, and that is like the one skill you want when playing League of Legends. It's like, we're going to control the map, we're going to take all this stuff over, it's going to be great. But what ended up happening is, they gave up first blood. Yeah, that kind of sucked, but like, I really thought they were going to just like keep the map going in their favor. They got the dragons, they got the first Baron, all that cool stuff, and then somehow they just stopped doing good things. I don't know if it was team comp. I think in doing the draft before the game, Team Epik was like, wait, they didn't pick Garen? We were expecting you guys to have Garen. This is awesome. Wow, sweet, we get Garen. And as it turned out, Garen just like jumped on Ashe every fight. And Ashe was their super hardcore carry, and I'm not really a big fan of Ashe as a big carry because she doesn't have escape mechanisms.
Right.
She's really awesome. Hawk Shot is a great reveal. Her ultimate stuns. She has slows on demand forever. But she can't get away from anything.
Right.
So and Garen is the one champion who like can ignore CC and just be like, I'm Garen, chop you up. And he got to play that role. And I think really they were mistaken to pick Ashe that game. Like, it just didn't do anything for them.
Now, I also noticed that CLG really commenting on the Vlad and Nudu combo and saying it's destroying us. Like, it's like tearing them apart. Was there anything that they could have done differently, or do you see now in a game like this where they need to make a champion comp change in order to possibly combat something like that?
Yeah, I'm expecting them to ban Vladimir next game. Nunu is not a typical ban choice. Like, Nunu's good, but he's not like, oh, you must get Nunu or you'll win. But, like, he's been the sleeper hit forever. And, like, Dan loves Nunu. Normally he plays him in tournaments, but he's their carry player for this tournament. So Araragi's playing him, but he's in love with Nunu. And I really like him, too. I think he's awesome. But he's not this, like, deemed OP champion. So no one counters him, like, hardcore. But, yeah, in talking with them, I was talking with the groups of players before the game. Elements, who was playing Cyan, who has a single target stun, a really awesome stun, was like, I just have to go for Nunu every game. I'm just going to go for him because, like, he's going to own us if he gets his ultimate. Like, I just have to go for it. But Araragi made some really cool choices where he would always channel his ultimate inside the brush. Like, there's brush in League of Legends where if you're inside it, you're in this, like, free patch of fog of war. Unless you're in the brush yourself, you can't see him. And just by channeling the ultimate, he doesn't reveal himself. If you attack from brush, they'll see you, they'll throw back. But if you're just like, I'm just going to channel absolute zero, it'll go off. And so they had to like they couldn't find ways to get to him. And so we got so many really awesome ultimates. He would just like watch for like Nunu, they would just like watch for Sinus and then be like, all right, R button, and just like crush. And it really, really worked well for him. It was really, really good play. And that was just all kinds of awesome.
All right. I don't know what the hell that was. I'm sorry about that. It kind of threw me off there. So, I mean, definitely it would be in their favor to try to break up that little duo that was just doing an enormous amount of damage on the team. And it looked like they actually dealt with it really well in like the mid game. But maybe you can explain this a little bit too. Is that you can see how the game really changes, how even some of the champions change from mid to late game. Where even you mentioned it, where some of the champions early on may not be the super powerful uber champions that people expect to play, but as they go on and on, they really become the guys that you got to watch out for.
Yeah, and there were a few things that surprised me. So like Vladimir is one of the best laners in the game, but his laning like scales really hard. Like early on, his main spell Transfusion is a really long cooldown. It's free, it heals him, it does damage. It's a freaking awesome spell, but the cooldown is like 15 seconds at level 1. So you're like, all right, I can Transfusion. I'm gonna chill here and then cast it once more per wave. And so we saw early on his opponent, Ashe, Big Fat GG, was getting ahead of him. He was winning in minion kills. He was winning in map control. Like he was winning that lane in general. And as time wore on and Sauce maxed out Vladimir's Q, he maxed out Transfusion. That was like a 3-second cooldown, spamming it all day.
Right.
And started taking names.
And that's the red spell, the like ribbons that come out and come back.
Like,
right.
Sucks life from the dude right away and it starts crushing. So that it started doing things from late game. So that lane transformed in awesomeness. And we saw early on in the bottom lane, Janna versus Garen, Janna and Garen is a great combo. Like you just won't die. Garen's spin scales off bonus attack damage, so Janna would just shield him and he'd be like, spin to win. This is awesome. and Morgana Cyan were kind of hard pressed to land a stun, and they just sort of have to retreat basically constantly. And then finally, I believe because Garen got the first kill, Epik got the first kill, so they finally got in a position where like their spin would do so much damage because the damage on that scales faster than their armor does. So it does more to their health than it would have, at level 9 compared to level 1. It gets better. And so they're like, all right, well, now we can just blow you up because we'll just silence you and just go. And like with the tornado, we're just going to lead in and it'll be awesome.
Okay, so I think we're going to be setting up here for game 1. You know what I would love to do? I was just kind of watching the chat. People like, okay, I've downloaded League of Legends now. Just like watching the stream, they're like, I'm ready to get into this. Any like starting champions that maybe you want to like throw out there? Hey, try this. If you just want to kind of get into the game and
absolutely. So one thing we do, so you unlock content from in-game currency just from playing. You get IP influence points to unlock content. So there's most of our really easy champions are the really cheap ones. Champions like Ashe are like 450 IP. It takes like 2 games to unlock Ashe forever. Right. And Master Yi is another really easy one. And there's Annie as well. So those are 3 really big archetypes of like range DPS, melee DPS, caster. Soraka and Taric are really cheap and are really good support champions. And so if you want to remember those 5 names, Ashe, Master Yi, Annie, Soraka, Taric, Alistar. Those are these really awesome champions who are really cheap, but like your role is very obvious to you, and it's very easy to do what you want to do. And Ashe is actually like the tutorial champion. You love the tutorial, and you're playing Ashe. He's like, I'm an archer. This is easy to do, right? And so absolutely. Also, you can filter and sort the champions. We have like 59 champions now. And there's a tag called like recommended, and it's like champions that are sort of recommended for newer players. They also have stats like, how good's my attack damage, how good are my spells, how is my difficulty, and they also have difficulty scores. So if it's really short, someone like Ashe versus Heimerdinger's pretty hard to play. So yeah.
And then by that matter too, because I like to play like the casters, you could sort by the different archetypes as well.
Yeah, so you can sort by type as well. You can just go into your summoner profile and look up every individual champion and read what their spells do and say, oh, this looks really fun, this is cool. And so yeah, I mean, and if you want to go to the store and look for the cheap ones, those are the easy to play ones as well. And so those are things that I recommend. So if you sort of want to catalog like guys that you think are really cool. In addition, we also have a free-to-play rotation. Every week we switch 10 new champions that are just like, go for it. Doesn't matter if he's expensive or if he's cheap, whatever. Just like, these champions are available. And if you go to the forums, it'll say, Ashe is available, who's range DPS. Annie's available, who's a mage. Taric's available, who's support. And it'll detail their roles. So if you're like, I want to play support, and you'll go to the forums and be like, oh, new free-to-play rotation. Oh, Soraka and Janna are free this week for support. Cool, those look fun. And you'll see like, hey, this is a pretty fun champion. This is pretty sweet. In addition to that, we have a really good following. We have a guide section on our forum. We have a lot of really cool fan sites who post guides everywhere, who post YouTube videos on how to play champions. We release how-tos as well for our new champions as well. If you want to just like go to YouTube and be like League of Legends and just like find all kinds of really awesome stuff. It's just, we have a really, really active community who loves to help everyone out.
Awesome.
It's a really friendly community, and it's all kinds of great.
I think that's great. Anytime you're going to get that massive community support behind a game, and then of course you're going to have a developer that will embrace that sort of community support, even better. So it looks like the teams are getting set up. Obviously, there's some sort of strat discussion going on here, figuring out what's going wrong, deconstructing, the good, the bad from that last game. But I do think we are going to get started here in game number 2 shortly. Scoots, do we have an update? Yes? Okay.
The game has been hosted. None of the players are in the game just yet. When you manually refresh the list, you'll see the game. We're going to make sure that we get the bottom slot on our team this time so that all the players are on the scoreboard. Because Nunu actually had rejoined and was then below me on the scoreboard, and I couldn't look up his stats at whim.
So we'll let everyone join before we get in, right?
Yeah, basically. One of us can stay in and just swap back and forth, and then we'll just see it. Okay,
I'll let you.
Yeah, so I'll basically yell at you to join the game, and then we're good.
All right, well.